So I went from being over 20% body fat and completely out of shape to becoming lean under 12% body fat with a visible six-pack. And I realized that it's actually pretty simple to become leaner than 99% of people within a year. And it's not about having the best genetics or training 3 hours a day. All it takes is being aware in implementing these 5 rules. Rule number 1 is the 95-5 rule. So what we think being lean looks like on social media, with the face dips, running next to a car for 5 seconds, and the flashy morning routine, most of this is not what got these guys into this kind of shape. The truth is the physique that you want is found in the boring things that nobody really talks about. So sleeping properly, consistently moving, eating well, so a lot of protein rich and whole foods most of the time. And yes, these things aren't the next hack and they're not flashy, but you see, the guys that stay lean for a very long time never get bored with the basics. The point is, most things that are worth having, like a fit body, requires you to be extremely consistent with the boring basic stuff for an extraordinary period of time. 95% of success happens in the shadows, the work that is boring that no one really shows. And 5% is what you see on social media. If you want to get lean and change your life, the real key is mastering the basics and sticking with them consistently over time. And don't mistake basic for easy. The truth is, the basics are often the hardest part. Why? Because they're repetitive, boring, and not always exciting. But that doesn't make them any less powerful. In fact, that's exactly why they matter most. My advice would be to implement one good habit at a time. For example, get more movement in, 10,000 steps a day. Do that consistently for 2 to 3 weeks. Build that habit, then move on to the next one. If you try to implement everything at once, then it's going to be too much. You're going to get overwhelmed, and in the end, you won't end up building any habits. So always start small. And don't make your habits complicated. When I first started trying to lose fat, I tried everything I could think of, from having the best fat-burning supplements, detox drinks, cardio on an empty stomach. I believed all of those things would help me to lose fat as fast as possible, only to realize that after a month, I got nowhere. Remember, the more complicated your plan is, the harder it will be for you to stick with. Just pick the basic things that really move the needle and do them consistently. Rule 2 is to use your discomfort as a driving force. So there's this quote, which is that people do not change until they realize that the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. So when I was over 20% body fat, I was eating out a lot, I was sitting at home all day, I was very sedentary, and I was drinking quite often. But whenever I went out, I would pretend to be happy and that life was great. So I would put on this brave face, but inside I was suffering. I had low confidence, I was pretty disgusted with the way I looked, I was tired all the time. It got to a point where I got completely fed up with being this lazy and unhealthy person that I forced myself to change. And the first few months of change was hard, the work was hard, but it got me results. So I kept going because I knew even though it felt hard at the time, the worst days where I felt like were behind me. And eventually, with sheer persistence, I got to the level I wanted. Now, I could have stayed the same with comfort eating, being lazy, not pushing myself. You know, it was an easy life. But if I stayed like that, looking on 10, 20 years from now, would I be truly happy with myself in that state? Or would I regret not taking action earlier and becoming the best version of myself, both physically and mentally? I want to be proud of my body. I want to be proud of how hard I worked to achieve it. I want to truly be happy with myself. And if you want to feel the same and avoid a life of regret by not taking action earlier, then I want you to think about where you'll be a year from now if you just kept putting off the work that needs to be done. You'll be in the exact same position with the same body, with the same daily routine, making the same excuses, while others are putting in the work, making progress, becoming the best version of themselves. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, then that's a good thing. I wanted to use that discomfort as fuel, because the reality is time will pass either way. But the question is, where will you be when it does? Rule number 3, change your belief system. If you're stuck in your beliefs that you can't lose fat or get lean because of X, Y, and Z, then you never will. If you always believe that I've always been the chubby one, or I don't have the metabolism for it, congratulations, you're right. Not because it's true, but because your beliefs are running the show. This is called the Pygmalion effect. You perform up to the expectations you set for yourself. I had a client once who grew up thinking, we're just a big family, as if being overweight was a hereditary destiny. Now, while your hereditary can influence your genetics, which may determine what body type you are, it doesn't mean that you can't lose weight. For some people, it's harder to lose weight than others, due to their genetics and hormones, but that doesn't mean you can't get lean. You may just have to work harder or have a different strategy. For example, you may respond better to intermittent fasting or having a high fat diet if you're insulin resistant. So it really does just come down to your belief system. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Your body will respond to what your mind believes is possible. Once you stop looking for proof that you can't succeed and start looking for proof that you can, everything will change. You see, our brains are really good at finding information that fits our narratives that we tell ourselves, and really good at ignoring information that goes against it. For example, let's say someone believes that carbs are the reason they can't lose fat. What happens? They notice every time they eat carbs and gain weight, even if it's water retention or just a heavy meal. And they ignore the times they eat carbs and lose weight because it doesn't fit their belief. They follow social media accounts, YouTubers, bloggers that constantly say carbs are bad, which reinforces their perspective. When someone shows them data or results from high carb fat loss diets, they dismiss it and say it's genetics, or that diet won't work for me. Even if their real issue is overeating calories, they're locked into the idea that carbs are the enemy, so they never really address the actual problem. Confirmation bias is what keeps people stuck in fat loss, because they only pay attention to the information that confirms what they actually believe, instead of what's actually true. So change your belief, change your story, and the results will follow. Rule number 4, extreme focus on solving the most important problem. Fat loss doesn't come from doing more things. It comes from focusing relentlessly on certain things that move the needle the most. So think of it like this. Your body is like a tree, and the height of the tree is how lean you get over time. Every day you're pouring your energy, your mental willpower, your time, attention, your effort into making that tree grow taller. And things like switching almond milk to oat milk, debating which supplement burns more fat, trying a new 10-minute ab routine every morning, or switching your program up for the 3rd time this month. They feel productive, but they barely move the needle. These are B problems. They suck up your energy, but barely grow the trunk. The trunk is your A problem. This is the main growth. In fat loss, the trunk is being in a consistent calorie deficit, eating enough protein, moving enough throughout the day, and managing your sleep and your stress so that you don't binge. If the trunk isn't getting fed, the tree won't grow taller, no matter how many fancy branches you add. And you also need to prune your plan, meaning cutting out all the fluff, ignoring the hacks that don't solve the real problem, and getting rid of the mental noise that tells you to try something new every 3 days. Focus all your energy and consistency into feeding the trunk. If you're not seeing results, then it's probably because you're spending all of your energy on the branches. But when you prune those distractions and go all in on what actually matters, fat loss becomes simple, easy, and sustainable. And rule number 5, keep your accountability high. This is the rule that almost everyone overlooks, and the reason they go year after year, never really changing. Let me be brutally honest with you. If your results depend on you holding yourself accountable, then you're going to fail more often than not. Not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because you're human. Discipline is unreliable when built in isolation, especially when no one notices if you cut corners. When no one calls you out for skipping that workout, when no one sees you eat that pizza instead of the prep, when the only person who knows you're not showing up is you. But here's where it all changes. The moment you step into an environment where people expect more from you, that's when your standards rise. Think about it. If you train with an Olympic athlete tomorrow, would you bring your B game? Of course not. You would try harder, show up earlier, and focus more. Not because you're forced to, but because you're in an environment where people will push you more. When I started surrounding myself with fit, focused, high-performing people, that's when I really shifted gears and separated myself from everyone else. Their level of commitment exposed my excuses, and their level of consistency made my inconsistency obvious. And now I help others do the same. I help them get the physique that they want by holding them accountable in every single thing. Because here's the truth, you become who you surround yourself with. So if you surround yourself with people who normalize skipping the gym, eating out all day long, drinking every weekend, and complaining about their bodies without doing anything about it, then guess what you'll do? If the people around you treat health like a non-negotiable, so they eat clean, train hard, push themselves and aim high, then you'll either rise to meet them, or you'll feel so out of place that you'll be forced to level up. So honestly ask yourself, are you in an environment that makes mediocrity feel comfortable, or one that makes it feel unacceptable? If you want to become leaner than 99% of people, then you can't keep operating like the 99%. Just hire a coach who tracks your progress and challenges your comfort zone. If you hire myself, then I'll personally coach you to lose over 20 pounds of fat within the next 3 months, and you'll join our community where excellence is the norm, not the exception. You'll be surrounded with like-minded men who are pushing themselves every day to lose fat, get stronger, and feel better. Post your goal publicly, even if it scares you. Track your actions, not your intentions. Because accountability isn't about punishment, it's about structure. Design an environment where success becomes easier than failure. No one stumbles into elite shape by accident. It's not luck, it's not magic, and it's not a secret. It's systems, it's standards, it's showing up even when it's inconvenient because someone expects you to. So now you're probably thinking, but I'm already trying, and I hear you. But trying is not the same as executing. You have to be obsessive about the basics. Let discomfort push you, not paralyze you. Program your beliefs that are keeping you small. Protect your time like it's the most valuable thing in the world. and surround yourself with people that make your current standards feel like a joke. Listen, time will pass either way, but the question is, will you feel leaner, stronger, and more proud of yourself 7 months from now? Or will you still be stuck in the same place, wondering what could have happened if you just committed? Guys, if you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe down to my channel and turn on the bell notifications so you're notified every time I release a new video. And if you're finally ready to break through and transform your physique, then go give this video a watch next.